Okay, we'll inform you about this. Still, it is not confirmed whether it is next week or somewhere, but I guess we are planning because there will be some industrial sessions also, some kind of extra sessions for you, so that you can have better understanding about how to build resumes, some benefit if you can take. You can also join for AIML classes, AIML lectures that will be given by someone. So many things are there. You don't have to only attend MERN only. So on offline days you can also attend. Yeah, for fixed classes, yes, we have on Tuesday and Friday, and for any doubt class or like if you have any doubt, either we can connect one to one, or if many people have doubt, then we can have a separate session. So right now we are not including the doubt session because it's just the start. So if anyone have any doubt, they can just contact me directly, and from next week we'll start the doubt sessions anytime you want. It's not fixed, like you have to be here at that time only. Because in weekend you can do your work and you can also study if you want. I will be sharing some videos or like YouTube links or some documents so that you can also be thorough with what you are going through. Because yeah, which one?
I'm Shreyansh Kumar. I'm from Kishangarh, Rajasthan. I've completed my graduation from IIT Bombay in mechanical engineering. Thereafter, I worked with EY as a business consultant for around 2 years. And
Okay.
thereafter, I left it to prepare for books. Introduce yourself to board members.
Sorry, I didn't get you. Can you repeat yourself? I didn't get you. Okay, so what I was talking, yeah, about the dot session. So anytime you can ping me. That's not an issue from my side. I'm available anytime. Except if I have any meeting, I'll just let you know at that time, and we can connect later. So this session will be mostly about. I just wanted to ask, like, we prepared for TypeScript, but I wanted to go for React this week, and then while learning only, we can learn the TypeScript because there is nothing much in TypeScript. We just have to learn the surface of it so that how you can make the changes and why TypeScript is better than JavaScript. So that's a very small session that we're gonna have, but I've planned this session for React so that we can start with our project instead of lectures and other things. So just can anyone tell me what is React JS if anyone have worked with it? Anyone about React? So just tell me, React is a library or a framework? Can anyone tell me? React is a library or framework? Is a component-based library used to build dynamic and interactive user interfaces. Okay. And what is the difference between library and framework? As you can, I can say Angular is a framework. It is not a library, but React JS or React is a library. So what is the difference between React, I means library and framework? Uh, that is not true. So the basic and major difference is like in Angular also you can run the backend servers if you can install the different libraries. Now Angular can work as a full stack with the latest updates. So library and framework are the main difference is that framework is pretty defined. You can't change many things there. Folder structure, the way of writing code and everything. You can customize it as per the requirement, but you can't customize the basic things. But in libraries, it's like it's your own uh, building file. You can organize however you want. There is no predefined rules. Yeah, there are some writing rules, but not regarding the architecture and other things. So in React, you can make your own folder structure, everything, but in Angular or frameworks, the things are very much defined how you have to use it, how you have to structure it. So this is the difference between library and framework. How many of you know about React? Please raise the hand. Okay. Also, others? Manoj, Sharad, Ume, and okay. So the point is, as I told you in the beginning only, this is not kind of tutor session where I'll be teaching you uh, like history kind of thing. So I'll be giving you basic like what you should know about React and all. So that is there because we have to follow some guidelines also. Otherwise, I would have directly submerged into the project. We have the project that is defined, and that you people will start that project. We'll configure it with ourselves, and we'll start on that. So everyone has their GitHub repository, means GitHub installed or like an account on GitHub, because that is the basic thing I can ask right now. If not, you have to create a GitHub because everything you will be doing everything will be merged into GitHub only through PRs. So I'll be restricting the users to directly merge it to the main because it will hamper our development. Is my screen visible? start with like React. So I just want to know how React compiles the thing. I'll be sharing this link so you can also go through this after this meet. So from here only I got to know about the basics of React, and they are pretty fast with the updates, as it's geek for geeks only, so always helpful. And in the beginning only I told you start with DSA. That is very important nowadays because means companies are not considering applications without DSA because there are many competitions and the job market is pretty bad. So yeah, so why do we call React as a single page application, and what does it mean? Because we if we can click on like other page, we will redirect it to other pages. Like if I'll click to any of the page, so will be redirected to React.js introduction. So why it is called as a single page application? Can anyone tell me? Because Geek for Geeks also made also being updated into React only. Anyone? Have to run backend server. That was previous. So single page application means whenever you build React files, so it will be confined into a single HTML, and that single load HTML CSS only once. Yes, that is true. So whenever you build any file in the React, so it will make several files like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript because browser only know these things. They don't know React, Node, Java, anything. They just know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to show the user side. So whenever you compile, so all the codes, what pages you have made, everything will be confined in one file, that is HTML, and all the if you have any CSS or Tailwind installed, so that will be compiled either as an inline CSS, or if you have CSS classes, then it will be in CSS file. And all the logics that you have written to open a window or close a window to redirect to the next page, that will be converted into JavaScript. That's why React is called a single page application. That is the basic thing. And why do React have virtual DOM instead of like a full-fledged window DOM? You all know about DOM, doc- document object model. So I'll tell you. So whenever you are loading anything, so a DOM tree will be created. So DOM tree will be considering of first will be the HTML tag, then it comes as head, then the body will come, then other tags will come under the body. So in this way, all the HTML tags are confined in a tree structure. So whenever we do any update in our website or whenever we click on any of the links, so DOM tree refreshes its content. So, whenever it refreshes, so it has to render a new DOM. So and rendering or changing the DOM is very expensive and it will slow your server. So what React does is it creates a virtual DOM, means a copy of the normal DOM virtually in its own area, in its own memory. So whenever anything changes, so a new virtual DOM will be created by React, and it compares with the previous original DOM. So if there is anything needs to be changed, so it will update the virtual DOM, and the virtual DOM will show you like what are the updates, and it will redirect to the to the user. So it's very fast to update the virtual DOM than updating the normal DOM. So that is why React is very fast and very accurate than Angular. So yeah, these are some features like we have manual DOM manipulation. So and also like it features like virtual DOM one-way data binding. So whenever you are creating any file or like anything like you created here I can show. Let me share my whole screen. Hi Rohit. So whenever my voice breaks, just let me know. So I'll tell you about this one-way data binding. So we have a page. The page contains button, and the button opens a new component, and the component has data from main page. Okay. So data is traveling from page to the component. So whenever we click the button, so the data from the page will be delivered to component and will be showing it in our component. So this is one way of sharing the data. In React, we only supports a one way, means parent to children. We don't send data or like send any information from child to parent. So that is not applicable in React any day. So that's why we call this as one-way data binding. We can only go from parent to child. We can't go like child to parent. If you are ever trying to say, update any data from this component to page, then you have to make a state in page only, and you have to send the state to the component to update any data. So that's why we call React as a single one-way binding. And this is basic thing like React is a component based architecture. So if any component is missing or breaking, so it can be it will hamper your whole project also. So it's very efficient, but at the time very dangerous to handle. So because of based structure, we have reusable pieces. We can improve the code quality, and like right now where I'm working, so we have a basic guideline to not exceed the code lines to 3 or 350 lines. So whenever we are exceeding those lines, we'll create a new component that is used. So less number of lines, less hectic, and we can segregate the components so we can easily find them. So as I told you, like React is a front-end library. It was developed by Facebook, so you should always remember it was developed by Facebook and then it became an open source. So right now React 19 is the latest one. It has many features that you can do. It is building for UI components. Latest is 19, and the main feature of React is only two. It is first, it is component based. Second, it has virtual DOM. So that is these two are very important features that React holds other than other frameworks or library. So yeah, that's why how I told you like the actual DOM and the old DOM. So it will compare and it will update the actual DOM. So how it is that works. So all the comparing and thing you have, sometimes you have to manage if you are making your own library, if you're making your React project using Webpack or Babel. So that is other thing. Otherwise, it will manage efficiently by itself only. So as I told you, virtual DOM. So it creates a lightweight copy of normal DOM. compare with previous version and update. So it doesn't update everything. So if heading is changed, so it will update the heading only, not the whole down. So that is why React is fast. And then component based architecture, as you know, will work on this also. And JSX, JavaScript, XML. So whenever you are writing anything, so it either supports JSX or TSX. JSX for JavaScript, XML. So and TSX means TypeScript XML. So why JSX? Can anyone tell me why we are using JSX and not JS? Anyone? We have the extension to use JS. JS also support HTML code. But why JSX?
A JS compiler that will translate JSX into regular JavaScript.
Yeah, that is one of the feature. The main concept is little different. That it does that work, but there's some other feature why we came with JSX or TSX. So I'll tell
It
you.
is HTML like syntax to create elements.
Yeah, similar like that. So we can write HTML in JS also, but we have to use DOM. Like we have to always inject through the document. So in JSX we have the ability to write our React, means all the React hooks under that page, and also to render the HTML like normally how we use. We don't have to inject. So it automatically converts the whole code into a normal JavaScript and HTML. So we don't have to do that. That's why we use JSX. And as I explained, it is one-way data binding, state management. So yeah, it has the best state management till date from compared to any other libraries or framework. So it has use state hook. Will familiar for that. Will get familiar from that. So you will most of the time there are only four hooks that you will use state, use effect, use memo, and use callback. These four hooks are very important, and use context will be there for a state global state management. We'll come to that later. Yeah, in the starting session, or like in the in the starting session only, I asked some question about React lifecycle. So it is like that. So whenever we load the page, so this page gets loaded. So yeah, all the things will be initialized. Then mounting phase means all the components that has been made will come together at a one place, and the data will be injected. So an unmounting phase. So whenever everything is loaded, it unmounts, means it's clear the memory, so that the next component will be mounted efficiently and fastly without crashing the web page. So if we are not unmounting any extra rendering, then the page will stuck, and you'll get a notification like this page is not working, or like it's not responding, similar like that. And then updating phase. So whenever we are mounting, and after that we are unmounting. So whenever we are updating any data, it will again mount if it is required. It's not like it will always mount, means it will always re-render. We can there are two ways. Either we can directly replace the data, or we have any other component, so it will mount, then it will unmount, and then it will update. This is the whole process of React. Under these four steps, there are multiple steps, I guess 7 or 8 steps that will come around. Yeah, it is there. So constructor means initialization of everything. So every method, every states that you have used, it will get initialized. And then render. Render means the method, as I told you, in for JSX only. So it will return the JSX representation, and it will make like initial rendering for HTML without any data. So it will show you it will just for UI part. And component get bound. So after it has rendered, so it will be inserted into the DOM as we know, and then it will send a response like yes, component has been rendered and it is mounted into the browser. Then we come with updating phase. So whenever any data is getting mounted, we have to update the data, like from the props or state or from the API calls, anything. So we'll update the data, and when it is updated, it will redirect it to a next phase where either we have to like clear the data, or as I told you, like we have to unmount also, and then again it re-renders the whole phase. So rendering always be there, but you have to manage your rendering part every time whenever you are using some state, so that it will not be overloaded and the memory leak won't happen. That will freeze your web browser. And then at the end, if everything is working fine, there is no error, then unmounting phase will come, and it will just clear the data from the browser, so that next phase or next mounting will be can be done. So yeah, so most of the part we will be working on the web development. So we can use React Native for mobile application. I was also learning this all on the React Native is very handy. Like you can develop many things, like mobile application has, with the same code base, and React Native also allow to like convert those iOS or Android pages into web pages also. So there are multiple things. Previously, Flutter used to do that, so now the React Native is there. So many companies are using React. So in my previous company and current company also uh, uses React only. Sometimes we work on other projects also, but mostly it's React. So yeah, in latest version we have server side rendering. So there are many things. We will come back to this when we are familiar with that. Then yeah. So yeah, in React we like normal HTML, normal HTML we just have to install and link in the head part. So in React we have to install some libraries if you want, and then we can import or export. Like if you are making any component also, you have to export. So the this is the basic React application that you will ever means whenever you are installing, you will have app.js or ts based on the requirement, and it will have a basic thing there. So right now, like it's importing the React means all the things that React manages, like component update, render, and everything. It comes under the React only. Then we are importing the component that has been made by ourselves, like my component, and we are writing. So that's why I told you we are writing under JSX. Don't go there. We have JSX just for rendering. They have made .js. So we in JSX we can write multiple things at a time. So we can import, we can consider our own library, we can export our library, and we can write the HTML within a JS file without any problem. And also, if we have any dynamic data, like you have to render hello Rohit from this component. So, and the name will be changing after every time. So we can also make it dynamic based on a curly bracket and the dynamic rendering. So that is there. That's why we use JSX. So we can inject JavaScript inside of HTML directly. We don't have to do anything else. And also, like whenever you are making the component, each component should have their own different name. As as you have learned, I guess there will be namespace issue. Namespace means similar names with different capabilities. So if there is any duplicacy, it will show the error. So yeah, and there's two things. Either you can write export const app or you can export default. So there is a subtle difference between this. If you are exporting a default application, then it will uh, then if you are having any other components like any means there are two functionality within this component, right? A component.js. So component one is header, component two is footer. So if you are making component default, so this will always be there. So you, if you are not making it, it will act as a primary if you are not importing any other thing also. So that causes a problem, and sometimes it causes a namespace issue, and sometimes it doesn't able to export these components. So there are many things. So if you can only use export default when you have only one thing to export from that page. If you have multiple things to export, then you should use export const. So we'll come across this because we will be mostly using export const because there will be some TypeScript issue when we are using uh, that default configuration. Then coming to JSX, so JSX is, as I told you, we can write JavaScript and HTML within a same page. So right now, if you are writing anything, so every time if you are making any changes in the React, so it's called an element. So instead of tags, we call it as element. What element you have changed. So everything under a page is element. Either state or you are writing any line, everything comes under element only. So just now I told you like if we have to render any uh, dynamic messages. So we are writing JavaScript code inside HTML. That is impossible. If that is not uh, means a good way in HTML, but React we have this. From this point of view, there will be many things that will be rendering. So whenever you are getting any custom message like hi Rohit, hi Prakash, so that will be managed by hi and name. So name variable will contains the dynamic. So whenever it's updating, it will update the data and it will render under HTML with a JavaScript message. So whenever we are rendering anything, that's why we are using JSX. Yeah, JSX allow you to embed JavaScript expression directly within HTML like syntax. You can use curly braces to insert JavaScript expression. So there will be multiple things. We'll be working with ternary operator and many things while writing JSX code. And then we have conditional rendering. That is very important. Components. So yeah, just we'll go through this component lifecycle. So whenever any user do any action, so it will either means set the state or fetch the state. So setting means getting the data and updating the state means the variable. In so in JavaScript you might have used like where message is equal to hi, but in React this is called you call this as variable, right? But in React we have const, then message, set message. So this is the normal way to write to declare a variable. So use use state. So fine. So in React we normally write this as a variable and we render everywhere. So in JavaScript, so in React we declare a variable under a use state. So anything you want to use as a variable, that comes under use state. So a state manages use state manages all the variables. So there are there are two things in the in use state, or any any hooks you will be writing. So these are called hooks. Use state, use effect, everything will come across with. These are called hooks. So the first in use state, the first method, this is variable. This is actual variable. What we did here, it is going here. So whenever you are writing anything in use state, it will be stored in message. And if you want to update anything, so you have to make use of set message. So, so this. So in the next line, if you will console.log message, then you will get to know like it is updated as by. So it works like that. So first one is variable, the second one is the function to update the message variable. So you are getting in like function manner and state way, and we are managing the state way behavior. So this is, so whenever any user makes any action, we update this we set here or update the state using this function, and then the React component will render the JSX with the UI, and it will, based on the state, it will show the data. If there is anything, props mean properties, if you want to transfer it to the next component. So it will also in the next component, it will first update the state or variables, and then it will re-render, and we will see the updated UI. So updated UI, then after getting updated UI, the whole comparison between the actual DOM and virtual DOM will be there, and then we will see the difference. So whenever you do a single thing, also whenever you are clicking on a simple button, also these whole process will be going in the background. So a single update, that's why React considered as fast, because you have to perform all the actions for a single basic click also, or like a render also. So this is the thing. So there are mostly two type of component, like functional component and class component. So when React came, it came with the class component by following a Java structure. So it was very hectic to write, and I have like started with functional component directly, and right now we write functional component using arrow functions, not like these functions. So you have to be familiar with the arrow functions, because that is more cleaner and more proper way to write the components now. So this is the thing. And then conditional rendering. So conditional, you have been like familiar with conditional renderings, like based on the conditions, like if else. So in React, if we are using if else, then okay, but not a good choice. We always make use of as I told you, ternary operator. So we have one function log called greeting. So greeting will only be shown when logged in is true. So this is passing some value we consider as true or false. So whenever you are writing any ternary operator, you have to, like, either it's a string or any expression, you have to make it into a boolean. So whenever it's a string, so like if you want to show the message, so if message equals I, we will write, we will show message like welcome message, and then this. Otherwise, we will show the normal message. You can directly. So this is called as ternary operator. So whenever any value you have to make it if else, so we can write multiple ternary operators here also, like if else, if else, if else, if. So it will also act like that. So be familiar with ternary operator, because we don't write if else in React. That is, if you are writing anywhere if else, be ready to like be roasted. So this condition is like whenever a message is equal to high, so it is comparing and it's returning boolean. So if message is equal to high, if it is true, we will get this text, otherwise we will get the other text like by. So this is called as ternary operator. So we will write first is the condition, like in if else we give the condition if condition, and it renders the if part, else we will render this part. So this is called as ternary operator. So yeah, yeah, that is like more than enough to know. Till now, any questions regarding what we went through? We went through like multiple things: export, JSX, components, conditional rendering, and what reacts. About React. Anything like any confusion or any doubt till now? If you don't have any confusion, then we will have two more topics like till prop drilling, and we can like have React hooks in the next, because it requires a whole session. React hooks and DOM elements. DOM elements is not that much necessary, but React hook will take all good time. And along with React hook, we'll go through the routing also, how we manage the pages, different pages, like whenever you click, so how the URL changes and everything. So if you are okay, we can move forward to like prop types. Virtual DOM we have gone through, then prop drilling. And while going through the React hooks, we'll go through the context API and React Redux, because after the hook only we'll able to understand properly what is context API and React Redux. I'll give you an overview today, but in Tuesday's session we will go through the React hook and context and Redux, the basic, because Redux is a whole new different world for React. It took me time also to learn Redux. So if you have any problems, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll move forward to the next part. Okay, we'll move to the prop types. So props are basically, there are two things in React. One is prop, that is named as properties. So there are two things. First is props named as properties, and the second thing is state, as we went through now. Act as a variable. So can you make the difference between these two? Props are known as properties, and state is like I explained how we manage state, is acts as a variable. What is the difference between props and state in React? Anyone know? So I'll tell you. So the prop properties means props are read only. You can't update. And state is read and write both. So I'll tell you how. So because of that, yeah, we can have this one. So consider this button as a component. Okay. So we are passing. So I'll tell you the structure. This is the name of the component. So const button. So every time we'll be using const because the behavior of the constant files doesn't change. It just updates. So this is the name of the component. This is its properties, and here we are rendering the JSX component. So this is the basic structure of every React. So yeah. So these whenever we are passing any props, so these are act as props. So the normal arrow function you can see like const function is equal to, then we have function dependency arguments, then we have arrow, and we have its body. So this is the function name, all the arguments will be here, and we write the body, the functionality. So inside this, if we have to, like as I told you, we are passing any data from page to the component through button. So we have to like pass the data, like we are passing here a label and type. So label means the button label, what is the name of the button, and what is the button type. So these are the properties, these are props. So from the name you can say that these are variables. So we are rendering that variable. So it has been passed from like we can make a page, and then page is a this is a parent component. Consider page as a parent component and button as a child component. So we are returning this. Okay. So we have button, and we are passing props as label is equal to label, and the next is type is equal to type. So this is the structure for the button. So how we will be rendering. So button is the component, we imported this button in the page, and these are the properties we are passing, and we are getting that in our button. So whenever we are passing the label, so this is a property, means a variable. So as I told you, props can be read only. So these act as a props. So if you want any data to send an update, so you have to pass the state. So as I told you, like if you have to update the message on button click, so you have to send this function instead of the variable. So now this state, as I told you, state can be read and write. So you can read that state. So for reading you have to send like message is equal to message. So you, if you are using this property, so this property is read only, as I told you, and we update the react component using state. So this is a state. So this will be considered as a prop state. This will be act as a prop variable. So whenever we are passing the state, we now we can have state like set message, and we can use this button to update this message, and it will be shown in the parent. So as I told you, it's a one-way binding. We have to send all the component from parent to the child until unless like it is necessary in parent. So this is the whole process of like this is the whole difference between the props. Props are read only, and state are read and write both. So this is the difference between the props. So you can see like we we are rendering the type and label, and it can have like properties required. So These are the different thing. So whenever you click anything, you'll get to know the details. So there are multiple prop types like a string. That means any data type any data type JavaScript has, they have all as a prop type. So but we this is not usable. We can use it, but this makes very hectic to manage. So that's why we came across TypeScript before that. So right now in the recent years only they have updated as prop types dot, like if we have any type. And while sending any prop type, as I told you, like if the message is empty, you have to keep means you want to keep any uh, default message, so you can just in the same line in the next page, if you are ending, so we can have some this. So you have initialized here only. So anytime you are sending any information from page to button, and the this is undefined, there is no data in message. So after passing, it will just, if there is no data, it will initialize in the button and it will render hello. If it doesn't have any data, if it has data, it will skip the initialization part, and it will update the data that you have sent instead of this default message. So we have multiple type of props, so we will come across. So I just like wanted you to know about the difference between the prop and state. So just keep in mind, props are properties to read only, state are to update the properties or variables. And what is prop drilling? That is a very good question. You might get in many interviews. So prop drilling means we are sending the properties from, as I told you, it is one way binding. So we are sending some properties from page to any, like we have n number of component that has been built over the page, child component, and we are sending the data in the last page. Okay. So we are sending the data from, so the props, so the data sending act as a prop. So we are sending data from a page to button, then a button is rendering the component, then the component has data, and now this data is sent to some other page, then the other page, then the other page. But our main case was to send the data from this page to this page, and these in between child component doesn't care about that data. So that is called as prop drilling, where we are just continuously sending the data from one parent to different to its child component, where only one child needed that. So and the other data that has been stored in other component, that will just be a waste of memory. To support and to utilize that memory and free the space, instead of so this is called as prop drilling, what we are doing. So instead of prop drilling, we directly send this data to the last page through context API. So we'll get to know in the next session properly. So context API is like, we have some data, we stored that data temporarily, and that instead of prop drilling every time in every pages, so it's being copied from one component to another component to another component, the data is being copied. So instead of copying for n number of time, we copy it for one time temporarily. So whenever this page renders, it will look for the temporary data that we have stored, and it will render directly instead of asking these other child component. So this act as a this is called context API, where we are sending all the data context from one parent component or like any component to any other component directly instead of any middleware. So if we are having any data that has to be sent from this to last page, and if you are continuously sending data between the components that has been there in between two the component that need the data, then that is called as prop drilling. And prop drilling uses a lot of space if it doesn't want that data. If you want, then we can have a prop drilling, but that time also we'll be using context API. Instead of storing in every component, we'll store at one place. So whenever you are, so the best example is whenever you have any user data. So the user data means contains email, phone number, and its name. So that data won't be available in every page through props. So we'll just create a context API. So that context API will have the context of user data, and we can use anywhere instead of asking for the components like give me that data, give me that data. So that won't be there. So that gives a benefit about the prop drilling. So as I told you, from parent, we are sending message to one component, then grandchild component, then the app is so app is considering parent, but parent is sending a lot of data to other child component. So this is called as prop drilling. So and as I told you, it is one way binding, so we can send data from parent to child. We can't send data back to a parent from child. If you want to update any data, you have to means send the states and you have to update in the child. So why prop drilling problematic? So code complexity, you have to check, like you have to update, you have some error in this page. So for solving this error, you have to go through each of the component, like where it's missing, where it's causing the problem. So that creates a lot of complexity. Then maintenance, as I told you now, for maintaining this you have to go through all the other component to check whether this component is working, and if you have any update in this component, you have to check the data in all the all the child components that is coming. And then readability will always be decreased for all the things. And then these all means and one issue will be there, if any of the component is failing or like is not giving a required output, the whole chain will break, and the main component that had to render that data has to wait or like has to fail, so it will show error. Instead of, that's why prop drilling is never imagined while you are working with any react component, and scalability will be reduced. So as I told you, we can make use of context API. So we can so in react only we have many things to explore. So we have create context and use context. These two are functions only, higher order functions. As I told you, whenever we are storing any user data, that has to be there in a context. So when we are creating the context, we can use that constant. Like we in the app we have name. Like we initialize the create context, and now we are creating the context of username, and we are passing the value. Like we are providing the value to the whole react application whenever we are passing any context. So any means in the parent we don't have the message, user message. In child we don't have. Indirectly grandchild we are using the context, we are getting the data of user and we are showing. So at one time in the main page only, we like provided the value of user, and we are directly using into a grandchild component instead of getting the data from app to parent to child to grandchild. We are directly storing once, and if you wanted to use in child, you can use directly like this only. So it just create simplicity, and also like makes the application faster. So because of this also the memory leak happens. If we are having prop drilling and some state is not managed properly, the memory leak will happen, and you will get uh, response of like page is not responding, or wait for a few minutes, a few seconds, just like that. So create a user context to share the data across the components, and the app component uses a use create dot provider to pass the username as the context value. Means what is the context of this username, means what is the value. Then the parent component's children, like any other wrapped, are wrapped by provider. So provider, so context provider is the one who delivers like under parent we have child, so we just have to manage the parent and the child will be managed automatically here. So the value of geek for geeks is displayed under the grandchild directly. So if we are using any custom hook, then that is other thing, that is not. And then we have two things. Context API are used there, as I told you, we have context API and React Redux. So context API we use only when we have a small amount of data to manage, like to store. But what if we have a large amount of data, we have to store the user session and everything, then we come across the React Redux. So Redux is capable of storing a large amount of data for time being, and it will not overload it. So as if I compare, there are two things. We have local storage and we have cache cookies, sorry. So in local storage we can store a lot of data, but cookies has some restriction of data storing. So they have some restriction like how amount of data that can be stored, but in local storage we can store a large amount of data. So it is that difference here. Context API only when we need to store some basic data, and that has to be passed to some like few components. If we want to render in multiple components, like more than you expect, and it has to be available for every time, and there is and the data is in very large amount and very crucial, then we use React Data because it manages it properly and automatically. So yeah. Any questions till now? Be sharing this link so that you can also go through. Let's share it after this. So any questions till now? Anyone having any question? If we don't have any question, then I guess we can drop off because there will be a waste of time for everyone. You can study of your own. If you have any problem, just ping me anytime. I don't have any problem to reply you or like give you some help. Okay. Then bye everyone.